Hello, beautiful and beloved ones. This is Lorelei from the Tightrope to 5D Music Reactions, and welcome or welcome back. And if you wonder about that strange title, stick around to the end. These days I'm bringing you a message after about every other video about this historic shift from third dimensional consciousness to fifth dimensional consciousness for the entire planet. But first I'm going to bring you Polina Gagarina, a cuckoo. Let's see what she brings us here.
Песен еще не написанных сколько? Скажи, кукушка, пропой. В городе мне жить или на выселках, камнем лежать или гореть звездой?
Already she brings such emotion to it. I did look to see if I could find one with English that could be transcribed to English, and there was none. So it seems like for this particular wonderful artist, if you want to hear her, you probably got to listen in her language. But I did look up the song. As I understand it, it's about the experience of being in a war and looking for the light, and just the torture of being in a war or having been in a war. And some of you might know what war and a bit about that whole business, which please do put in the comments. But so this is powerful. Let's continue. Do give me a comment on that, because I'd love to know. Here we go.
Солнце мое, взгляни на меня. Моя ладонь превратилась в кулак. Если есть порох, дай огня. Вот так.
Look at her choice of costume there, right? Like the black and, got the sort of webbed arms. It's kind of giving you that experience of tortured. Let's go back a little here. By the way, don't forget, friends, I have my member tiers now. I've been furiously putting videos in there for you, special content for you. So check out the video about those 3 tiers. Let's go back a little. See the torture, the wishing, the asking, please, bring assistance or something to that effect. Oh my goodness, wow. She's so powerful, this one. I love this one. Voice, the prowess of her voice. Let's go hear that again. Quiver, Not a single quiver. She held that note that whole time without a single quiver. Like it was like she just started the note the whole way through. Oh my goodness. Wow. Let's continue.
Где же ты теперь, воля вольная? С кем же ты сейчас ласковый рассвет встречаешь?
So tell me what you know about this song, by the way. I know I said it briefly, but really I want to know, like, is this a very special, is it an age-old song? Did they upgrade it to a kind of a rocky sound? I kind of have a feeling maybe it is. And when was this war? I'd like to know that too. So give me the comments. Here we go. Wow, let's go back a little. She's so involved. She's so powerful. And she's looking up to the heavens saying, like, you know, do something about this. Why have you abandoned us? That's the feeling I get. Do something here. Oh my goodness, I gotta give her a like, by the way. Oh, let's go back a little. Powerful. I mean, even without the exact translation, that was powerful. Holy moly. My goodness. Oh. Oh. So, wow, Polina, you are just such a powerful artist. You just bring us such poignant singing and emotion, and oh my goodness. So, I gotta put this on my scale now. 1 being very third dimensional, fear, pain, sadness, anger, and 10 being very fifth dimensional, love, peace, joy, bliss. Well, this is about war. This is about suffering. This is about trauma. This is about, entreating God or the power source of the heavens to help, for assistance, and that's very third dimensional. The trauma of war is very, very third dimensional. So, we have to put this rather low on our scale. But it's not talking about satanic stuff and all, but it's certainly, or something like that, but it's certainly more low than high. So, oh my goodness, but she did it so unbelievably. And to bring our attention to this, and to have people open their hearts for it. So with that in mind, I was going to go below a 5, but with that in mind, I have to go, because it is opening people's hearts to the horrors of war. I'm going to go with like a 6 on this. So, but again, that's not about how she did it. And I want you to understand that if you had to go about how she did it on a scale of 1 to 10, she's off the chart. like off the chart. She did it so well. But I have to say though, like as far as it pulling us in a direction, like I said, it's starting to open the heart to make people aware. So that's why I'm going a 6 instead of like a 5 or a 4. But it's not very high vibrational. It's not love, peace, joy, bliss, harmony, unity, oneness, and all that. But it's needed. It's needed. It's necessary to bring people's attention to to the trauma of war. Really, that's what it's all about. So, okay, friends, if you'd like to know a little about me, you can go to the About Me video on this channel, which leads you to another longer video about what I call my forged in the fire of 3D journey, my earlier journey in life. And yes, but I learned a lot, and I became a transformational coach, even more powerful than a life coach, I would say. And I learned a lot about natural healing in my journey. So those things, I created some things that might be of interest to you. You can go into the notes and look at the About Lorelei on Patreon. And also, by the way, if you want to, I know some of you have been generous and kind enough to send me a little love, contribute to me. If you'd like to do that, you can do that there on About Lorelei. There's a link there, as well as you can do the Buy Me a Coffee here link, which is in the About Lorelei here. And that is much appreciated. Thank you so much. Okay, friends, let's get to the 5th dimensional message, which I picked specifically for this. How do wars affect the soul's journey? How do wars affect the soul's journey? You see, a war is just about one of the most dramatic things you can experience, because it is just over and over and over and over, just coming at you with people dying in hideous, horrible ways, people that you love, injuries, just over and seeing it all and seeing massive amounts of it. Now, we can have traumas and they're horrible. And I had traumatic childhood, believe me. And those were very terrible traumas of like torturous type of nature. Not for my parents, praise the Lord. But and that was, it was its own level of, of torment. But you get to a war and it's up there, I mean, this is like up, really up in some of the very, very worst trauma and torment that you can experience. Like I said, because of the repetitive nature. Now, the things that I experienced were ritualistic and repetitive in nature as well, by nature, I should say. And so, yeah, that had that as well to it. But that was only a year for me. Those who will suffer that for the entirety of their young childhood, that can be just as devastating as a war for sure. So a war and ritualistic, repetitive abuse type of thing, yeah, that's up there. And the war, like I said, because you just see it over and over and over and over, and it gives you no hope, and it's so debilitating to the mind, to the way you think, to see that, to experience that, to be in that constant harm of another. So, okay, and by the way, that's why, whatever has to be done to stop these wars around the planet, that must happen. That must happen if we are to move to the 5th dimension. So I know a lot of you are kind of critical of the administration, and I sometimes am too, by the way, but we need to like sort of reserve judgment on that, because if wars are ended, almost at any cost, that is necessary. Okay, it's almost at any cost that ending that war must happen for us to move up in consciousness. So, because let's just go into that for a minute, because you just can't do it with all of that harming of other people and all of that constant onslaught to the of harm and of violence to the consciousness of the people. Even the people living in a war-torn country, like even if the people were unfortunately to lose their country, terrible as that sounds, that is not as bad as constantly facing the violence of that war. Honestly, it's not. I know that sounds terrible, but yes, your country is important and very important. Your borders are important, but they're not worth that horrible experience of life to anybody. So, as I said, reserve judgment for what's happening with the people in power who are ending wars, that in itself is probably the very most important thing that can be done here on this planet. At least in the top 10, I'd say let's say in the top three, I think, taking down the people that would willingly want to harm people over and over again and are in positions of power, that's up there too, and a few other things. But so what though is the cost of this on the soul's journey? Well, I would say that this is a huge setback for any soul. You see, to feel the experience of a war is a huge setback because it's going to affect your way of thinking. It will be hard for you. For instance, if you were on the path to the ascension right now, and then you were in a war, for you to have to try to get back on the path would be so incredibly difficult because of all that's done to your thinking and your belief sets and everything else, and the harm and the things that you've seen. You probably, if you were on a path to ascension and you suddenly, had found yourself in a war somewhere, you probably would not be able to ascend that lifetime. You'd probably have to go back to square one and go to another planet where ascension is happening, like incarnate somewhere else and go back to square one, because that experience would be so devastating. You see, the experience of a war brings up so many questions, so many searching, so many needs for answers, I would say, that you might have after experience a war. You could possibly have to do several lifetimes just to attack each and every one, of those questions. Like, so questions about why is this man's inhumanity to man? How come this is allowed to happen? How does war happen? Why does it happen? Why do people harm each other? You might need a lifetime for each and every one of these questions just to explore them. So it's very devastating to the soul's journey. Now, I'm not saying that the people who have currently been in the wars now might not be able to ascend, because this is an historic time, and there's the God spark, divine light coming in, and there's help from the angels and help from the ascended masters to help people to heal, especially children who are very malleable can potentially heal from this and move on in consciousness. But in a normal sense, if you didn't have all of that going on, you probably would not be moving on at all. My father was such a beautiful soul. I have to tell you the beauty of this man. He was a light. He was always happy. He was happy-go-lucky. He was funny. He brought joy and fun and play and ease to everyone around him. He was a performer, so he did it in that way. And he also did it by bringing performances to people, to the elderly in the nursing home where he worked. And he did it for us kids, and he did it whenever there was a gathering and he could do a little skit. And he was a singer, so he would bring joy in so many different ways. That was my dad. And yet he was in a war, that he actually retired from the military. But the biggest parts of him being in the war were during World War II, when he was quite young, in his teens and probably teens into the early 20s. And the things he saw there, he never told to us. I really literally only learned some of these things by my former husband, him telling the tale to him, because he would not tell his female children these horrible tales. So later I learned from my husband some of the tales he told them, things about like seeing someone, in the jungle, people having had their throats, unfortunately, God forbid, um, you know, I don't even want to say the word for that. It's so horrible. But having experienced that and waking up and going to see your friends, and it could have been you, by the way. So that's what the things he experienced, and so this lives in you, and it lived in him such that he could not even bring it forth out of his mouth to his children. Probably not to my mother either. He had three female children, so his daughters, he certainly could not bring that. And so it lived like I'm sure, like a shame, like a guilt, I don't even know, like a trauma, all that, and never really got any help for it. I remember one time, coming up on him unexpectedly, And I guess I had startled him a little, and he whipped around, and literally there was a look on his face like he was ready, like he whipped around into attack position, which I'd never seen, and there was a look on his face like he was ready to kill, and he just stopped, and then he realized, because he had been triggered back, in that instant, he realized it was me. It was like a post-traumatic stress thing going on there. So this lives in you like forever, unless you can, somehow get the help that is needed, which does happen. There is help out there, and there are ways to do it now, like through transformational stuff that that I have an expertise in, that you can do that. But so my father did not move on. He did not stick around for this ascension process. Now I don't know what the deal was with that, because I'm not privy to his life. It could be that he's got to go experience some other lives, like I just said, or it could be there's another thing that happens as well. I kind of feel like this could be his situation, because he's such a light, as a general, in a general sense, he was such a light. It could be that he came to this life as a contribution to others, and didn't really need to ascend because he came from a higher realm, so that wasn't necessary for him. But he did pass away in his 80s, and I think, like, just, I know that sounds maybe that sounds old to some of you, but I think he could have lived a lot longer had he not had that stuff pressing on his spirit or his soul of what he'd experienced. So that's my kind of personal thought on that, but I don't know if that's for sure. But I do know for an assurity, the effect of war on a soul is devastating. I say a soul, you might also say a spirit, but a spirit, really, you can't affect it negatively, really. It's the soul, it's the record that you need to then go back and set the record straight. So the soul is like the record of your life. It's a living thing, but it's the record, the living thing of the record of your life. And you have to go back and sort of set the record straight once you have all these experiences. So now you have to understand that the spirit, or the essence that you are, is unchangeable, unshakable, and in no way ever diminished in any way by any of the experiences of your life. But that soul thing, yeah, that's the thing you're looking to come to equilibrium in the soul, like a state of, like, homeostasis, like all is well, like you've learned what was needed, and you've grown, and you've developed as is needed, and now you can move up. And a war will set you back on that big time for the most part. So that's just my message for you here today. But so be happy. Be happy for every war you see ending, that is happening right now as we speak, and send out all of your loving energy that these wars end, because it is quite surely one of, if not the most important things to happen on our ascension journey. Okay, beloved ones, ascension, I mean moving up to the fifth dimension. Don't get weirded out by that word. It is a word. It means moving up to the fifth dimension. So don't get nervous. But yeah, some of you have a connection to it from your various biblical texts and whatnot, but that's what I'm talking about there. Okay, I'm sending you that fifth dimensional energy, the love, the peace, the joy, the bliss, the fun, the play, the ease, the abundance, the harmony, the unity. It's all coming, the love for all. It's all coming at you now. Here it comes. Namaste. I honor the God in you.